All right, welcome back to part two of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. X and KB coming at you. Our special guest, Lawrence Vaughn, in the building. Appreciate y'all watching us on YouTube. If that's how you're watching, if you're listening, however you're listening on your podcast platforms, we appreciate that too. Jaylen Brown, man, did he decide to take over the news cycle this week for all the wrong reasons. He didn't do anything illegal. He didn't do anything that caused any harm to anybody. But he definitely would say that he hurt his reputation here a little bit, just in terms of being a competitor this week as a player. So let's begin by saying that the Boston Celtics blew a 3-1 series lead to the Philadelphia 76ers in round one. And a day later, Jaylen Brown, who did play well in that game seven, but he did not play well in that game five or that game six. That's going to matter in a moment. He decided to come out and to go on his Twitch platform, his streaming platform. And he talked about the refs. And he talked about Joel Embiid flopping. And in recent days, it's came out from one of his mentors, Tracy McGrady, that he doesn't seem like he's very happy in Boston. Well, Jaylen Brown came out and debunked that and said that not only is he happy in Boston, he would like to spend the next 10 years of his career in Boston. But I want to go back to what ended up happening on Sunday. And Law, the floor is yours first on this one because we talked a lot about this. And I know you got a lot that you want to get off your chest.
For sure. Well, I can make it short. Honestly, I just felt like it was clown behavior from Jaylen Brown, from somebody that his actions would perceive that he feels that he's the smartest human walking the earth. It was just very poor played. But it wouldn't have to even like if I was sitting here talking to him, it wouldn't even have to get anything personal. I would just simply ask him if you felt this strongly about the flopping about Joel, why did you go on Twitch after game one? Why did you go on Twitch after I want to say Joel came back game five?
No, Joel came back, I want to say, in game four. It was game five where he played like a monster.
Okay. What any of them other games didn't you bring it up? But it's funny, and this is what people have been alluding to. It's funny the timing of it. And I've seen everybody from actual streamers like RDC with Mark and other people like on Jeff T podcast and dude, what we're in Gil's Arena. We're not saying what you said was wrong. Let it breathe, bro. Like maybe come back after the whole season is over. Bottom line, y'all blew a 3-1 lead. That means, bro, you after you won your third game, you had three opportunities to win one game while Philly had to win three more games in a row. And you couldn't do it. Then he goes on to say, this was my best year. Like this is the year, my most fun year yet. Surprise, surprise. Jason Tatum missed majority of the year coming back from an Achilles injury. Surprise, surprise. This was the year that you were the number one option. It's funny how all the things that you love most about this season resulted in it being all about you in a team game. But when JC came back, that's when your temperament changed, and that's when your body language changed. See, people will tell you about themselves without even realizing it. And we're finding out that Jaylen really just cares about Jaylen. You can tell Tracy McGrady and all these other people, oh, they're like, it's a lie. I would love to be here. Yeah, you saying that now to save face, but even Evan Turner was talking about it on NBA radio today because Evan Turner used to be an assistant coach there. Now he did say the energy in the halls are different for Jason versus Jaylen when they're in the building, but if you ain't know that by now, I don't know what to tell you, dog. Like, I don't know. Jason been here longer than you. And he's been a valid contributor. It'd be one thing if you came in day one and you was better than him. But there's never been a time where you can argue that Jaylen Brown has been better. I've said that Jaylen is better, but Jason Tatum is more skilled. And this showed it when it was like, all right, bro, cool, this is supposed to be a gap year for us anyways. We're gonna get a high draft pick. We're gonna reload for next year. Now, I heard from Evan Turner that Jaylen felt kind of spited because when Jason Tatum went down, they gutted the team. Well, they kind of had to gut the team regardless because of the cap space, and they were over the second apron. So it doesn't matter who had got hurt. Drew Holiday and Al Horford, like they weren't bringing them dudes back. Okay, Jaylen Brown, he goes out there, he gets the 2 seed, cool. But when Jason Tatum comes back, like I said, bro, he just kind of shut down and wasn't himself. It wasn't about the team anymore. It was about, I'm no longer the guy.
And what makes that so interesting is that when Jason Tatum first came back, what we all said was, all right, he's going to have to get used to being the number 2 guy, at least for this season, because this is Jaylen Brown's team for this season. He's been leading them, and he needs to continue to be the number 1 guy. It does look kind of sketchy, though, KB, that Jaylen Brown decided to just continue. And he made sure that he said that he was doubling down on the fact that this is his favorite season of his career, despite the fact that 2024 was the season they won the championship and he was the finals MVP and the conference finals MVP. He doubled down on the fact that this was his favorite season, and it does look kind of sketchy considering how Jason Tatum missed all that time recovering from a torn Achilles and Jaylen Brown was able to be the number 1 option. But what I don't really like, though, is that he did all this talking about the flopping and the calls from the refs and how SGA doesn't get the same treatment with this, and he doesn't get the SGA treatment in terms of the way that they might do certain things on offense when they're looking for fouls or certain moves they may make. The point of the matter is this, brother. You blew a 3-1 series lead. Forget the game 7 for a second. You didn't play well in game 5. You had a chance to go home and close that out, which everybody mainly thought is what was going to happen. You didn't play well in game 6. Now, you did your thing in game 7 statistically, but you had 3 chances to close this deal out. And it should be noted, this is the first time that the Boston Celtics have blown a 3-1 series lead in franchise history. And Jaylen Brown will be known as the star of the team that blew that 3-1 series lead because this was his team this season. He would be known as the star that did that.
Yeah, I look at it like, of course, this is going to be his favorite season because of the fact that, he got all the individual, acknowledgement that he been looking for the whole time that he been in, because he been having to hear that he been a co-star no more. Like, of course he got the finals MVP, but of course he been looked at as, the co-star to Jason Tatum this whole time. So now the fact that Jason Tatum wasn't there and he led that team to, what I'm saying, a 2 seed, it was, it was a match made in heaven. But I think, like you said, man, I don't want to hear nothing from you. If you blow a 3-1 lead, I don't want to hear nothing from you. Just like when, as much as we want to say, like some people will say that, with the Warriors back when they blew that 3-1 lead to LeBron. I don't want to hear about the refs. I don't want to hear about anything else because, like Law said, you had 3 opportunities to close that game. Close that series, and you fell flat on your face. And if you don't play well in those closing games, I don't want to hear anything about the refs because the refs, the only way that gets into the refs' hands is if you allow it to get into the refs' hands. But if you can dictate how this series goes and you have a chance to close it out, that's another thing about you I don't get. So I don't want to hear about Joel Embiid's flopping or anything like that because there ain't enough flopping in the world to stop you from closing out that series if that's what you really wanted to do. You had opportunity. So that's my whole point. I don't want to hear about the excuses now because now you just sound bitter. You sound bitter, you sound petty. And as much as you don't want to hear people tell yeah, be quiet, man. Like nobody want to hear that because had you closed it out, we would have never heard about Joel flopping. We would have never heard about half of the things that you brought up. We would have never heard it because it wouldn't have been relevant at that point. You won, you would have never brought it up if you had won that series. Never. If you had closed out game 7, even if you had closed out game 7, you would have never heard about any of this. So no, I do think there is something brewing in Boston. I think there is something to be said about the fact that he's getting to that point where now it's like, all right, outside of that championship, I ain't really had much to really hang your hat on because y'all been battle tested for years. Even if you want to talk about the early years, like 2018 when y'all were going at it with LeBron, y'all been battle tested for years and y'all have one finals appearance. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all have two finals appearances to show for it. 2022. I can't remember who was favored, but I do remember that people were giving Boston more of a shot to win that series than Golden State.
Well, the people who were doing that, I wasn't really putting much stock into them because the Warriors showed me with what they were doing throughout the playoffs that okay, they had one more in them and that they were going to get it done. I just didn't feel like the Celtics were ready at that point. But I hear what you're saying 100%.
Yeah, because I remember they were up 2-1 and everybody was putting all the pressure back on Steph Curry saying, hey, this is your opportunity to perform. Like you gotta get this one or it's
Can
gonna
you
be
win it
over.
without KD? Can you win it without KD?
Exactly.
Yeah,
All of
I
those,
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of that stuff crept in, like came into play. Once they went up 2-1, I think it was going back to Boston. And that was a big thing that was going on was like, okay, do you have what it takes? And he went on and put on a performance, what I'm saying, probably one of his best performances ever. But it's been for me, it's just been the fact that you got two bona fide stars and y'all got one championship to show for it. I can see the frustration getting there, like for him, especially the way y'all went out. Like you had a lot of expectations because even before the regular season ended, we talked about what a juggernaut Boston was. Even though Detroit's the number one seed, everybody was talking about you got to go through Boston. You got to go through Boston. We were already setting up the New York Boston matchup for the second round before it even happened. And so when they didn't close, yeah, you looking at it like that's very disappointing because of the fact that you lost a 3-1 lead. Not the fact that you lost. I think the fact that you lost being the favorites to come out was disappointing enough, but the fact that how you lose does say something. And I think that he ain't doing himself no favors by continuing to go on this press run where he's basically being highly critical of everything. Because now we looking at you like, well, what did you do to stop any of this? If this was how you wanted to say like, oh, we lost because of this, we lost because of this. Oh, I want to be in Boston. Okay, cool. You want to be in Boston for sure. Why did you not do enough on your end to get us into that? Because you wanted to be the leader, but like being the leader is cool until it's time to get criticized for being the leader.
Preach.
Because Tatum been criticized plenty of times when he don't came up short. Even when he came up short in the NBA Finals in 2022, he was criticized because they were saying, "How is it that you the best player on the team, but JB winning the Finals MVP, or he's been the best player when he won Eastern Conference, when he won the Eastern Conference MVP for that Eastern Conference Finals, and it didn't go to Jason Tatum. He got criticism. So there's no different when Jaylen Brown gets criticism if you are the guy because he had, if it wasn't for a guy like SGA or Wemby, he had by a lot of people's standards an MVP season. He did. So the fact that like I said, if you want to be the guy, you got to take all the criticism that comes with being the guy, not just the good parts, because we seen throughout the years he ain't gonna he don't skate it by because he ain't been the de facto number one on that Celtics team. So he don't skate it by a lot of the criticism that has gone, when he hasn't played well. So yeah, I don't necessarily want to hear all of this stream like you want to stream and stuff, cool. I don't want to hear too much about the series because like I said, this was on you. This was prime for you to advance, take the Sixers out in what at least 5 games. It was set up for you, and you didn't close it. So now you got to take the criticism that all other great players on took when they have failed to do the same. It don't happen to every great player. Steph on endured it. Kobe on endured it. LeBron on endured it when he was about to go on one of like if LeBron didn't close that 3-0 lead, he was going to endure a lot of it. So that's why I say everybody gets it done to them. So you just gonna have to take your lumps how they came, and that's it.
Now, one of the things that I brought up in our group chat, Lawrence and KB, I think I said it to you too, and you jokingly said that they should trade Jaylen Browns for an Arby's gift card. But one of the things that I said is maybe the Celtics should look into flipping Jaylen Brown for Giannis. And I wasn't saying that from a star standpoint. I was saying it in terms of what the Celtics need. Because one of the things we found out in that Sixers series, especially in Game 5 and Game 7, and them not having anybody that could go up against Joel Embiid and stop him. Look, man, that Cater guy, he was a nice story for the regular season, but he is not the future of that position for the Boston Celtics. And Nikola Vucevic, that trade was regrettable. They didn't play him at all in Game 7. So, Lawrence, do you see a world where we could see Giannis in Boston and Jaylen Brown in Milwaukee starting next season? Because, I mean, that's the most that I think when it comes down to it for the Milwaukee Bucks. If they want to get any type of real compensation in return for Giannis, this is probably one of the best areas they could look to get it in.
Yeah, like I could definitely see it, but to me, it necessarily comes down to when it comes to Giannis, bro. Are you gonna demand? Are you gonna say you want to be traded? Yes or no? Because it's like Giannis and Milwaukee's in this standoff where neither one of them want to be seen as the bad guy that asked for the breakup. When it's equivalent that you don't want to be here no more. We don't want you no more. But neither one of them wants to be the one that says, yeah, I'm breaking up with you. So yeah, in theory, it'd be cool. It gives Jaylen that team that he can own. I think for Jaylen, most importantly, like I stay out of the West. Because you go to the West, you're not getting close to winning, bro. I mean, I don't even know if you touch the second round. I mean, second round might be the peak of what you see in the West. But yeah, it would be cool. And I think my thing for Boston would just be like, why would we go get somebody who's injury prone? I saw a stat today. Giannis ain't played a game in April since 23. I don't need I'm not trading for that. I would rather go get a healthy, able body that's half of Jaylen Brown. At least I know I can depend on him to be on the court versus let me go get Giannis, who, let's be frank, if he don't have the ball in his hands, he's not really a factor on the court. And two, he ain't healthy past really past the new year. As soon as it cross over and you see April on the calendar, you can count Giannis to be out.
One of the other things I want to address when it comes to these Boston Celtics is the coaching situation. And KB, rightfully so, in the regular season, we were looking at Joe Mazzulla and saying he should be a finalist for Coach of the Year. But in these playoffs, once again, he had another meltdown, man. And outside of the 2024 run, which a lot of people said was a lucky run for the Celtics because every team they ran into in the Eastern Conference was hobbled along the way with key players being out or being injured. It's just not good what we've seen so far. So he took over for Ime Udoka after he was fired right before the start of the 22-23 season. So they struggle in the first round. They get through the second round. And then they go to the Eastern Conference Finals of that season. And they go down 3-0 to an 8th-seeded Miami Heat team. That they come back and they tie up and they lose in a blowout at home in Boston in Game 7, albeit Jason Tatum got hurt in that game. They get the championship in 24. But then last year in 25, they have multiple games in that series against the New York Knicks where they blow 20-point leads. They lose that series. Obviously, Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, but they were on their way to losing that series before he got injured anyway. And now you have this season going home in the first round, blowing a 3-1 series lead. Is he the guy? I mean, honestly.
I mean, I still got belief in Joe Mazzulla. I think that, he's still a great coach. I mean, you gonna question a lot of things because of, what's been going on, and you're gonna question the fact that they haven't been able to get it done consistently. But I do look like he's in that he's in that upper echelon as far as tier of NBA coaches. So I do think he is the guy. I think that they just had some real misfortune go their ways. But yeah, I look at it like, it was some points in that series where I could say, especially late, Nick Nurse outcoached him. I mean, that's just what it is. Because like we talked about before, Nick Nurse ain't no slouch. He a championship winning coach as well. So when it comes down to it, it's not like he got out coached by a scrub or somebody that we ain't really heard of before. He got out coached by a guy who's won a championship against a dynasty. So, no matter how we want to split it, like they did it. So I look at it like, well, we have to just be aware of what's going on because, like I said, I don't think a guy like Joe Mazzulla is going to come through walking through your building, every season. I don't think you just get that opportunity to get a guy like him in the building that's like so, detail oriented, and he's gonna make sure that those guys are ready. Like I said, it just didn't work out this time around, but we've seen him be able to coach in big games before and get results from his players. So I still think that he's the guy.
Here's where my issue comes into play. He could still be the guy, but they're also going to have to change up the way they're playing basketball too. This being so dependent on the 3-point shot, that's not working. They got to find ways to mix this thing up.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be some things that's going to have to, happen. Like from an organizational standpoint, as far as their play style, it is going to have to be something different because, like I said, isolation basketball is not what favors them because they just because you have isolation players that can go one on one doesn't mean you have to actually play that way. I think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown they can play isolation basketball, but where they're at their best is when they get others involved and they're swinging the ball around the perimeter and they're getting the shots that they want, not necessarily the shots that they just taking, at the end of a clock when they've already dribbled the air out the ball. I think that they play such a team style that they don't have to worry about, you know, playing hero ball. I seen a lot of that late in those later games, like Game 6 and Game 7. I saw a lot of hero ball being played. That's something that doesn't favor the Celtics. I think that when Tatum's on and Jaylen Brown's on together, they're still one of the best duos in the league. But right now, they got to figure something out and they got to get back to the drawing board because the way they ended this season was very disappointing based off of the trajectory that they were going.
Law, where do you stand on Joe Mazzulla and what you think about him and his future in Boston and what it should be?
I agree with a lot of what KB said. It's hard to say like you doing something wrong when I believe Joe's seen the finals twice. I want to say, or was that Emmy? What's that?
So I think Joe was on Emmy's staff in 22.
Okay, right. So it's hard to say like, okay, for you're doing something wrong when you've been to the finals and you've won doing your way. I would just say though, like Emmy, he hard-headed. He a hard-headed coach. And rather than make adjustments, he'd rather say, we go keep jacking up threes. In that Game 7, that starting lineup that he rolled out, that five had never played together all season long. But in the most pivotal game, you're going to put them out there together.
It's one thing to do that in Game 82. It's another to do it in Game 7 of a playoff series.
Exactly. Where you've been walked down to that point. Like, you would think at that point, I'm going with the dudes that I know that have played together all year and have trusted one another. So I just feel like he's very similar to Jaylen Brown in the ways where he feels that he knows best and you can't tell him squat. I mean, even the interviews I hear him give, it gives very, if you're not in this locker room, you really can't say anything to me because you don't know what we've been through. You don't know what we go through. And it's like, dude, we're not trying to tell you what to do, but we're just asking why not make adjustments versus continuing to jack up threes when clearly that's not working for you. Like AB said, like y'all's game, the way your roster's constructed is not everybody go stand on the corner and watch Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown go one-on-one. That's not the team.
Yeah, and again, you can't emphasize enough how bad KB that Nikola Vucevic trade really turned out to be. It's bad when you make a trade for somebody and then you can't even play them at all, like not even to come off the bench in a game because they're that much of a hole for you on the floor, at least on one side of it.
Oh, repeat that one more time, X.
The Nikola Vucevic trade and how much of a disaster that's been for the Boston Celtics.
Oh yeah, that trade was trash. And then the fact that he got hurt also didn't help the case. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're looking at what this is my issue that I looked at Vucevic when he was in Chicago. He was not a game changer. He wasn't a dominant center. He wasn't one of those guys that was going to go out there and lock anyone up. It was more so like what they needed him to be, what they traded him to be. Because you got to think about it. The Vucevic trade, even when they traded for Anthony Simons, none of those trades really worked out. It was a couple of trades that were just done, and you were thinking that these were going to take them to the next level, but none of them really worked. And I think that was the problem with the whole thing. Like in theory, you looked at it like, okay, you bring in Anthony Simons. He's going to be a good combo guard that can help get take some attention off of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum when he comes back. Never ended up working out like that. You dealt him. So then you bring in a Nicholas Vucevic, and honestly, he wasn't the same player. I think the trade did a lot to him to bring him to a new environment. But honestly, he's the same player that he was in Chicago. A guy that wants to, who rather work off of 3-pointers than get on the block and go post up. I just didn't think that trade benefited them at all in the slightest, and it actually kind of handicapped them a little bit because of the fact they brought in a guy that was really ineffective all the way around. He wasn't effective offensively or defensively, so that was a trade that you might as well say was like it was a negative.
No, I agree with that 100%. Well, fellas, it's a big thing that's happening on Sunday. It's become a very exciting event over the years, and that is the NBA draft lottery. And this has to be one of the biggest, most anticipated NBA draft lotteries of all time with all the prospects that are included in there. You got AJ DeBonta, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Boozer. I don't want to leave out any names, but y'all get it so far. Like this thing's loaded so far, and it's not expected to be loaded at all next year. So that's why this is such a big deal. When you look at the teams that have the highest odds to get the number one overall pick, Law, you study this stuff pretty deeply. I'm gonna start with you. Who do you think is going to walk away as the winner of the ping pong balls on Sunday?
Indiana. I'd give it to the Pacers. But like I shared in our group chat today, OKC, OKC, the betting odds to win it. And I would just hate that. I would hate that because it would just be like, it would add a fuel to what's the point of the lottery? Now, granted, they got that because of a trade they have the Clippers. I want to say this is part of the Paul George trade.
It is.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's not OKC's fault. But if there's ever a last year, it kind of feels like the Hawks that year when they got the first overall pick the year after San Antonio got it for Wemby. It'd be like, bro, this could happen like next year when it's not such a loaded draft, or this could happen last year when it's not that big of a loaded draft. But to add AJ DeBonta to OKC right now would be crazy. That's why I have Indiana winning it, because I feel like he would just fit in there amazingly. Started from day one. But I mean, given how loaded the draft is, if OKC lands anywhere in that top 5, it's scary.
It's almost like you were inside my head there for a second, because I've been thinking the Pacers are going to win this draft lottery for at least a week and a half now. Just looking at, you got Halliburton coming back, you got them as the feel-good story of the NBA from a year ago. And Indiana has a very rich history when it comes down to the history of basketball, with the Indiana Hoosiers in college basketball, the Indiana Pacers from their ABA days more so than their NBA days. I mean, I'm right there with you on that. KB, where are you on this?
Yeah, I'm looking at Indiana as the team that I feel like would win that draft lottery. But like I said, if OKC were to get that number one pick, that would ruin my whole day. It would honestly ruin my day. I might actually shed a tear. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't want to see that at all. I don't want to see that anywhere. There's a couple of teams that I could feel like really could use it. Like we talked about Golden State, they need it.
Now there is one team that you know that is forbidden from being able to get a number one overall pick on this show. So don't let that team be one of the teams that comes out of your mouth.
It's probably not, but
Okay.
it's probably not. But yeah, I'm talking about like we just talked about them. We just talked about Golden State needing it. They need it because that roster sucks. They need something because if like I said, if you're a Golden State fan, not a bandwagon, but if you're an actual Golden State fan and you are actually talking about, man, I just need something to kind of just like let me get a glimmer of hope. You're hoping to the basketball gods that you can just somehow swing a miracle. But I just look at the draft lottery as like, man, it could be one of those situations where you could have the worst record. And every year it just sucks because I'm looking at it, comparing it to like to NFL draft. You got the worst record, go through all the turmoil, and still not end up with the number one pick. So and this is one of those things where like it is a loaded class, so it's not like you're gonna get the worst. But like I said, going from possibly AJ to maybe a late top 10 pick, it could determine the whole direction of your franchise going forward because of the fact that you could go from a generational star to maybe an emerging star at some point, but not necessarily the guy that we wanted. Because if you're looking at, I guarantee you, every GM has a first, second, third, and maybe even a fourth option, depending on how that lottery goes. Because there's so much talent, you're gonna see. I can honestly see like where it's gonna be less trades that are gonna go down. Maybe some guys will get, unless there is a deal that just happens to be like the cream of the crop deal. It is gonna be some where it's gonna be teams that are gonna be desperate. They got to get into a top 3, top 5 pick just because of their banking on the fact that some of these guys are gonna be generational players. Like you look at a guy like even Caleb Wilson, 6'10", can handle, can shoot. Somebody's gonna be like, that's our guy. That's gonna be the guy that's gonna lead us to, lead us into the playoffs for the next 8 seasons, possibly. I seen the mock drafts come out. It's going to be an exciting time because, like I said, this was the draft class. That's why I was excited as a Hawks fan because I'm like, this is the class where having your pick is very important. And for the teams that gave away their picks, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you're not looking too good right now because you gave up your picks in a loaded class. Now, if you want to talk about next year, that's next year. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when it happens. But if you're talking about this year, this is the exact time to have a pick, especially a protected top 10 pick. So I'm looking at it like Indiana is still the team I think will win the lottery, but it's a lot of teams in there that I could see possibly, getting those picks. And I'm just hoping that it's not a couple of them because I could really see, like I said, OKC is the ultimate. I would hate to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen, but like I said, man, you can't get mad at Sam Presti for doing a crazy job, stockpiling those picks when he did because, I would have made that pick. I would have made that trade any day of the week if I was OKC. I would have said, if that's what you want to give up for Paul George, who has not won anything, hey, so be it. I know OKC Paul George was amazing. Top 3 MVP voting. I get all that. But if that is what you say that you would be willing to give up for Paul George, who has never won an MVP, who has never made a first team All NBA, hey, I'm cool with it. You go right ahead. You mortgage your future for Paul George because the only type of players that deserve that type of trade package is a prime LeBron, a prime Steph, a prime KD. You get where I'm going with it. Guys that are actually proven that they've won, not Paul George. So now that this is I guess this is the end of the Paul George trade. You can finally put that away. You can finally put that behind you. But man, this ain't the right draft for you to have to be like still paying the luxury tax of that trade years later. This is the worst draft that it probably could have happened to, other than like you possibly having a chance at maybe Wemby. But this is one of the worst trades. This might be the worst trade ever.
It's the Clippers. These
if
things happen.
But what did I always tell you though? Desperate teams, they make desperate trades. They do desperate business because, especially you ain't been good in a while, you gonna do something that's just be like, oh well, we got two guys. You remember Paul George even said it. Pay me what you gave Kawhi. Why would I do that? What have you done that would put you in the same class as Kawhi? Just let me know and I'll let you know. That let me know that they weren't a serious franchise. So that's why I said bad teams do bad business.
If I can, KB, that point you made where you said, "Oh, if you go from thinking you get AJ DeBonsa," to me it's like we think we get AJ DeBonsa, but we end up with Mikael Brown, who by all means was a great prospect at Louisville this year, had a couple 40 balls, but he had a low back injury in February that held him out through March. Now, they were a team that was like at his peaks this year for Louisville, had people talking about, could Louisville win the ACC? Could they get to the Sweet 16? Like that type of stuff would be like the more like, yeah, you're excited you got him, but it's like, because we could have had AJ DeBonsa. You got people like Rich Paul and Kenyon Martin saying Caleb Wilson could be the best player in this draft class. That you go from, all right, we could have had them. For example, I want to say it was the Pelicans that had traded away the first they picked this year that was protected to trade up. I forgot who they traded up with.
The Atlanta Hawks. That's why we sitting here
hoping
on a prayer that the Hawks get number one.
All that to get Derek Queen.
To get Derek
Queen. Yes, sir.
Now, granted, Derek Queen had a good year at Maryland. He's going to be a good player because listen, the state of big men right now, homie, I'm going to keep it a buck with you, bro. You should have kept that pick, bro. You should have kept that pick because the same dude that the Hawks took, that boy from Georgia, they would have, he was still going to be there at the end of the first round. Nobody's going up the board to get him.
I don't think people realize that it was funny how immediate did Joe Dumars really just do that? Like, it was immediate. I remember it like it happened yesterday. Like, the amount of, what the hell is he doing? Like, that's what a lot of pages, even Pelican fans that I know personally said, I have no idea why he made that trade. I said, yeah, I don't know either. I like Derek Queen. I think he has a lot of traits of I know that he's been compared to like a baby Jokic and all that kind of stuff. Let me stop y'all right there. Jokic is Jokic. Derek Queen, he could be a great player. But would I mortgage my a future in the, like I said, in a loaded draft class for a Derek Queen? Nah, I wouldn't. Because maybe you could have still got him later on. Maybe. That was one of those situations where I felt like that you gambled and it was the wrong gamble because you still didn't make the playoffs. So you didn't make the playoffs. You did all of that just to end up in the same position without your pick. Sounds like a lose-lose to me.
Well, then thank you for not saying that team's name. Lawrence, if you didn't know, on this show, we don't wish great draft positioning among the Sacramento Kings because we don't wish that on those prospects to end up in a poverty organization like that has the ability to ruin them without them having a chance to truly get started. So appreciate you not saying them, KB.
I was thinking about it when you said it. I thought about it. I was like, oh man, he talking about purgatory. I said, yeah, if you go there, you almost guarantee your career ain't gonna be Nothing, especially if you trying to be loyal to Sacramento.
Exactly.
Yeah, your career gonna go exactly how it's gonna go. You're gonna basically be DeMarcus Cousins. Put up a lot of great stats, never compete for anything. And then, hopefully one day you get lucky enough to get traded. Maybe.
That's all I'm saying. I just pray because y'all know they've been real active in saying, "Oh, we're looking for a point guard," even though they had 2 point guards. We're looking for a point guard. We're looking for a point guard. I just pray, Mikal or Darius or any of these top point guards. I just pray that you don't end up there. Now, Cam Boozer, I don't care if you go there, but one of these point guards, I pray they don't because you're gonna be asked. You're gonna be asked to make shit turn to gold. And not only do they not have the team, I start to question: do they even have the facilities to put out a competent team? And they don't.
I swear that will be the time that you will see me go back to school. I promise you. I'm not joking. You will literally see me play politics, and I will not report. I don't care who says what. I don't care how I look in the media. I would not report, and I would dare somebody to disagree with my reasoning behind it, because it's just like, y'all not gonna do this to me. I've already had a hard time getting here as is. You're not gonna do this to me. I've worked so hard to get to this moment, not to have it ruined by Sacramento. I've seen it. And they have made notorious bad decisions when it comes to drafting. If y'all remember that Marvin Bagley draft, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't trust you to make, like, the best thing that you did was draft Halliburton. That was the best thing you did. And then what did you do? Turn them over and traded them. So, no, I have no confidence in that front office and or ownership for that matter. Like, and I don't like none of their pieces. I don't like their roster. I don't like the way that they put certain pieces to try to fit around other pieces. Just terrible overall. Just awful management, awful franchise, awful culture. If you want to say that, it's just bad.
The draft that stands out the most to me was them deciding to draft Thomas Robinson over Damian Lillard and other guards to put next to DeMarcus Cousins, who needed a guard next to him more than anything. But instead, they decided to draft a forward who, at best, was a career journeyman. And that's no disrespect to Thomas Robinson, but that just goes to show you, like, the bad decisions that the Sacramento Kings have made over the years. So yeah, I'm with you, KB. Whoever ends up getting drafted there, I would like to see them hold a press conference telling the world that they are going back to school and that they are not going to report to the Sacramento Kings to play. I would love to see that.
You remember how they were making such a big deal about Ace Bailey and how he was looking after he found out he was getting drafted to Utah? You would literally see me crash out right then and there, like, stuff getting flipped. And I'm not trying to make it no secret that I don't want to go there. Like, I'm pulling an Eli Manning and I'm forcing my way out of there. Like, I might even say I want to do an Alex Sarr. I don't want to play there. I don't. Like, no. And like I said, if you from Sacramento and you love the Kings, you know I ain't lying. You know, like, sometimes you just got to be real with yourself. Like, that is not a good franchise. And it has historically been, I don't think they've been competitive since the early 2000s.
Yeah, they had that one little glimmer of hope in 2023, and it hadn't really been too much before then. They were saying stuff like "light the beam." I hope they've thrown the beam in the trash because that didn't work.
Oh, you talking about outside that one playoff series with the Warriors where they still got smoked out? I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm talking about, like, legit championship contenders. Like,
oh yeah, that hasn't really existed since, like, maybe 2000. Not 2002. I'm gonna say 2003. They had a legit shot in 03 before C Webb got hurt.
Is that when they were getting hosed by the refs?
No, that was 2002.
That was 2002. That was the series where I was like, I could see it, but then it was, I could see it until I couldn't see it, and yeah, they ain't recovered since.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely believe, and hopefully I'm wrong on this. I don't want to see OKC get it. Y'all just heard I don't want to see the Sacramento Kings get it. I would love for Atlanta or Indiana more than likely to end up getting that number 1 overall draft pick. Because one thing about it.
Question for you, X.
Oh, okay.
And say Atlanta gets it. And who are you taking? Because to me, you already got your forwards in Kuminga and Johnson. Are you still taking AJ? Or given how the team is structured out already, all right, Kuminga, we're going to deal. Like, what would be your mindset if ATL, we got the number one pick? Because you got your two booking forwards.
I'm going to answer that right now. When you are a team like Atlanta, you're ascending, but you still a couple of pieces away. The way I would approach that draft is you pick the best available player and you go and rock out like that, because I feel like AJ's the best player in the draft. Now, Darren Peterson, like I said, great player, but we saw a couple of concerns in college that made me be like, all right, I don't know. I think he'll be a great player, but it's something about durability and being able to. I feel like with AJ, you can do more because AJ can handle the ball as well. AJ would be a good complementary piece, and I think that I think AJ was even NBA ready when he was in high school. I think that he got the skill set to come in right now and start. I think that if you are Atlanta and you get that pick, don't worry about position, because we don't care about position at this point. It's positionless basketball anyways. Get the best available player, rock out like that, because you don't want to pass up on a generational talent just because he's a forward and you already have forwards. Because the two things that Atlanta needs right now, they need a lead guard and they need a big man. That is the only two things I feel like right now are stopping them from being legit contenders. If they can get a big man and a lead guard, and I'm talking about a real lead guard, not masquerading the shooting guard as a lead guard. I'm talking about a real lead guard that can run the offense, a big man that can that can actually go out there and defend. Even if he ain't that much of an offensive threat, you just need him to be a capable big man. If they get those two things, they back in business. But until they get those two things, no. The only way you don't take AJ, if somebody make a crazy, when I say the craziest deal you've ever seen, it's got to be something along the lines of that SGA deal. I mean, I'm sorry, not the SGA deal, but the PG deal. That is the only way I'm giving up this pick, because I don't care about no Giannis. I don't care about none of them other guys, because, like I said, if we were going to make that deal for Giannis, you would have made it during the season. Don't talk to me about Giannis now. I don't care.
Yeah, here's my answer to your question, Law. If somehow the Atlanta Hawks get the number one overall draft pick and they can get AJ DeBonsa, Jonathan Kuminga, it's been nice. We wish you well. Go on out to free agency and get you a bag. And as for Jaylen Johnson, you are on the clock, sir. You played timid and frightening against the New York Knicks, almost like you were scared of the moment. So we gonna keep you for now, but you are on the clock. And in terms of you being the face of the franchise, that is on the clock as well. That's my answer to your question, because I do believe that AJ is that special. You got anything that you want to chime in on that with that?
No, I mean I wouldn't argue with you. Like you said, like both dudes. I wouldn't hate like Kuminga. You've had this many years to develop into a formidable offensive foe. You ain't been able to do it yet. So do you think with more of a leash you'd be able to do it? I don't know. But I know what AJ is. Like I know what AJ gonna give me. And for Jaylen Johnson, like, yeah, dog, you on the clock, bro. Like, we trying to win. G, we ain't got no time to be scared. The only thing I would, but KB pretty much addressed it in that I don't need a lead guard trying to be a point guard. And that's what I feel like drafting a Darren would be, which wouldn't work, let alone we know how he already has this Kawhi-esque energy about him to where it's like, do I want to play today or do I not want to play today? So don't know if you want to waste a pick on that. However, and there isn't a point guard in this class that's top 5, top 4 valuable enough. So yeah, like I would agree. Like, yeah, I would draft AJ and I would try to even package up Kuminga if I know if it lands Sunday, like, hey, I got the first overall pick. Let me put some things together. see if I can add in maybe another first round pick or either in the lottery or at the end of the first round for Jonathan Kuminga and try to get, okay, maybe I can get a AJ and then get the kid from Michigan, Yexel, something like that. But I land number one. Yeah, Kuminga good is gone.
Well, the Lakers and OKC are currently in game 2 right now. Lakers only down by 5 points. Team showing up tonight. Austin Reeves showed up tonight. I was prepared to cook him for what happened in game 1, but he's shown up tonight. LeBron's given what he has tonight. The fact that we're having to depend on a 41-year-old to help us lead the way is already criminal enough to me. Man, these role players, it's going to have to be some upgrades in the offseason. Jake LaRavia, I think he's played his way out of the Lakers uniform. Quite honestly, KB and Law, he has just looked like he is not really about the moment so far here in these playoffs. Jackson Hayes is giving good contributions. Luke Kennard he's playing solid coming off the bench. But man, you really miss Luka right now. Because if you just had that extra boost of scoring, this might be a totally different series.
Man, I tried to tell some of these Laker fans out here, man, you can't hype up mid. Like some like I understand having confidence in your team, but I remember they were saying when Jake LaRavia came in, they were like, "Oh, that's a great pickup," and I was like, based off of what? Based off of what that we saw him do since he's been in the league. What can we say? Why? Because of his size? That's cool, but he offers nothing. Then, like I said, you look at guys like I'm gonna still say it, the DeAndre Ayton signing, man, please, y'all can miss me with that too. But I'm gonna tell you what's the more concerning part about this. This series shows me that OKC got a very different whistle, a very different whistle. It is honestly hard to watch sometimes. Because a lot of people, attribute them getting the whistle because they drive the ball more. No, I'm over all the unnecessary head movements, the unnatural basketball movements when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I see it with SGS.
Yeah, the flopping has become way too much.
Yeah, because I remember when they were saying, "Oh, it was James Harden, it was Trae Young, it was Luka," but now you're seeing SGA do it. Jalen Brunson does it. You know what I'm saying? It is a thing as exaggerating contact. If you doing stuff like I said, SGA, I've seen some of the stuff that he's doing. Now, granted, he is everything that we say he is. But then when you look at some of the stuff that he does, I'm like, why are we? So we would give the criticism to other players when they do it, but he does it just as much, if not more. He's hooking guys, literally hooking guys, going up for shots. He's getting these unnatural movements that are not supposed to, like when they changed the rule to stop calling certain things, they made it to where he's still manipulating the rules. There are guys still manipulating these rules to this day. But I remember when they were just saying, "Oh, it's because of this guy, this guy, this guy." No, because eventually all these guys are going to eventually catch on. They're going to adapt to how they are calling these things, and then they are going to manipulate that to their advantage. Because SGA and Jalen Brunson, I've seen both of them do this. I swear to God. Where have y'all ever seen them give that little chicken wing and they have created space just that same way? That chicken wing creates space. That is an offensive foul. Extending the arm is an offensive foul, and we've seen it. SGA's done it already through pretty much 2 games this series. It's been the thing. Jalen Brunson has done it pretty much since he's been the guy in New York. He's been that guy, but also you gotta call that contact. It is becoming to the point where this is becoming unwatchable. And people are saying, "Oh, it's just because y'all hating." No, I don't need to hate on OKC. They have nothing to do with me. I don't care. I'm not an OKC fan, but I don't need to hate. They have nothing to do with the team I support. So it's just a thing about if I want to see the best basketball play ball straight up. Because it's gotten to the point where guys are more focused on drawing the contact than trying to make the shot. Like we grew up on guys, they would force the contact, but they still trying to make the shot. They not even trying to make the shot no more. That's why I say it's getting a little bit out of hand because you're exaggerating all the contact. Like I saw Chet exaggerate getting elbowed in tonight's game. He didn't get nowhere near his chin, but he's holding his chin. I can't stand to watch that stuff.
No, I'm with you on that 100%. Y'all know I've said countless times on this show that Shea currently, right now, at this moment, is the best player in the world to me. But what I saw in game one was unwatchable basketball because it wasn't just one or two plays where it happened. It was throughout a vast majority of the game. Like it was a central part of his game in game one, the flopping and the over exaggeration and different things like that. Like something's going to have to happen with this. And I do believe that if OKC ends up winning another title this year, I believe that Adam Silver will step in. Very similar to how the league has wanted to step in with the tuck rule in the NFL because it's just, well, not the tuck rule, excuse me. Philadelphia's 4th and 1 run in. It's slipping the top of my mind, y'all. What do they call the play?
Tush push.
The tush push. Thank you. How the league owners wanted them to step in with it because it's bad TV. Now, nobody cared about it too much after this past season because it stopped being effective after about week 4. But this flopping is bad TV. This is bad basketball. This is unwatchable stuff to watch. And if OKC ends up going pretty far with it again this year, winning another title, I believe Adam Silver will step in.
I would say the only difference is that I don't know for the NBA, do they like when Adam could just step in and change it, or he needs the other owners to vote and agree? Because that was the thing that stopped the tush push was that all the owners they want to come out and be like, yeah, this isn't football, we gotta change it. But then when it came down to the vote, nobody wanted to step up and put their name on it and say, I don't want this to happen anymore, because it was being labeled as you're only voting no because you can't stop it when it gets down to goal line or short usage plays. So that's why they're like, all right, for sure, like keep it in. And I mean, we'll just stop you on the other 3 downs to make it to the point to where you're not pulling the tush push out on 2nd and 9. So I just don't know when it comes to that. But Eddie Johnson, who funny enough was actually on that Charles Barkley Houston Rocket team, he said today that when it comes to SGA, yeah, he sells he sells fouls, but he has also perfected the craft of falling down. And like a lot of dudes, when they get hit and they're coming down, they're looking to brace themselves so they don't injure themselves. SGA will fall to help sell the call. So when you're a ref and you're looking at that in real time, and this dude just fell, I'm blowing the whistle, cuz. Now, granted, like X said, it is getting to a point where it's, what are we doing, bro? Like you said, KB, are we playing basketball or are you just trying to go to the free throw line and rack up 2 easy ones? But to SJ's defense, if I'm within the rules and this is what they are calling for me, why would I change it up just because I'm succeeding in this path and y'all aren't? Because truly, dudes had to hold their hands behind their back when they went up to guard James Harden when he was playing in Houston because he was drawing fouls like that. And I just never saw this type of outcry against James Harden in Houston because it was, oh, well, he just crossed you over and you can't really stay with him. You can't guard him. But now it's SGA is just a foul merchant.
I'm not making an excuse for James Harden with what I'm about to say. Didn't mean to cut you off there, KB. But I think the reason you didn't hear it as much with James Harden is because you expected him to flame out because he has shown us time and time again. I'm not making an excuse for him when I say that, but that's why I think the pushback on it wasn't nearly as much as it is with SGA.
And I also look at it like the pushback is we've seen SGA be a player effective where he didn't have to shoot 10 plus free throws a game. And I think that what it is, yeah, I understand it's it's him manipulating the rules into his own way, but it is, like I said, a manipulation of the rules because that he's getting into that gray area where it's like, well, we could call it, but or we shouldn't call it, but we're gonna call it anyways. Because like I said, throwing yourself into people, that's not basketball. Hell, I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, but that's not basketball. And we gotta look at it like, okay. So are we gonna call this more consistently, or are we only doing this for certain players? Because, like I said, OKC has a whistle like no other. And then, like I said, it is usually when you know how we say sometimes that everybody is officiated differently. SGA is officiated way different than a lot of other stars. And if he's that best player in the world, he's gonna get a different whistle. But it's just like, all right, now it's getting to the point where it's like overkill. Like, I get it. You can get to the free throw, like, because what he does is he kind of goes at his own pace. He gets to the spots, he draws contact, and then that's going to be what it is. But I saw a lot that I didn't like from that Phoenix series. And now it's trickled over into this LA series, and now with more eyes on it because of, it's the Lakers. It's getting to the point where like a lot of people are seeing it. I even saw Foot Locker Twitter page say that this flopping is getting ridiculous. Like, you getting people that are like that don't have a dog in this fight that are coming out and saying that it's getting ridiculous because it is. It's like, I understand that if you're an OKC fan, you don't see it, but sometimes you got to be just as unbiased as everybody else. You got to sometimes call it for what it is. Shea do get a different type of whistle. Just like I could say at one point, Luka got a different whistle. Trey got a different whistle. It happens. But we got to be consistent across the board because, I remember Nick Nurse. If y'all remember that game, it happened late in the season when Nick Nurse said about OKC, they foul too. They do. Because he's seen that it wasn't being consistent on both sides. Like, they weren't calling the same fouls, and they might get away with more contact than, let's say, they might get away with more contact than, let's say, a Memphis Grizzlies team that doesn't have all the stars. So I just say be consistent and let that be that.
No, I'm with y'all on that 100%. Of course, we'll continue to keep our eyes out on the playoffs going forward. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. We thank Lawrence for joining us. And I'm going to say it like I always say, it's not the last time y'all going to see him.
I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Yes, sir. For Law, KB, and X, I'm saying peace. We're all saying peace. We'll see y'all next time.